Hey everybody, Anish Majumdar here, career coach to the fiercely ambitious, here with a powerful breakdown on how you can succeed in behavioral interviews, right? So what does that mean? People freak out about this all the time, and they will waste hours upon hours upon hours trying to practice every type of Tom, Dick, and Harry question under the book, right? And they're getting it wrong, and it's not helping, right? So I want to actually focus this video on helping you understand what are employers trying to accomplish with this, right? When they ask you these types of questions. And instead of you worrying about endless practice, think this: process over practice. Okay? I want to implement it. I want to show you ways of thinking about these types of questions that will allow you to shine, even if you have to, quote unquote, make up an answer, as oftentimes the best interviews are full of, right? If you understand what is going on from the employer point of view, and you are able to bring some simple processes into play, you are going to be able to do better in an interview than 98% of your candidates who are pouring all week away from their families trying to stress themselves out with every notes under the table. Okay, so let's get into this because I think the ROI is going to be really huge. If, by the way, you are joining me for the very first time, my name is Anish Majumdar. I am known as the career coach of the fiercely ambitious. I specialize in one thing. Okay, my team and I, we work with high performers, job seekers, anyone who's interested in leveling up their careers and is being frustrated by the job market out there and the quote unquote standard way of moving forward. We work with them every single day to show them how they can rebrand, reposition, dialogue with people in a different way, and close their own offers that they create for themselves over and over and over again. So our perspective is really coming from that empowered place. Follow me, all right? Take an action right now. Go over to LinkedIn. Put in the word Anish in the search bar. You should see me pop up. Anish, certainly the word career will pop it up. Hit a follow. I would really appreciate that. Okay, so let's get into it, guys. And why don't we start by talking about, like, why even ask these, right? Why even ask these types of questions? You might say, hey, it's a waste of time to ask any questions that don't go into the bread and butter. And yes, answering behavioral questions as though they were bread and butter questions is a big red flag that you don't really understand what's going on, right? The purpose of these things is to vet your soft skills, right? How do you collaborate? How do you adapt, right? Specifically, there's 6, okay? Adaptability, culture fit, collaboration, leadership, growth potential, prioritization, right? Adaptability. How quickly can you take a situation and roll with the punches, or do you freak out and have to get stuck in one way of looking at things, right? Culture fit. So the stories here in answering these questions, you need to be flexible about it, right? You need to think outside the box. Culture fit, right? Are you going to get along with us? Are you a good fit here, or are you someone who only works well your one way? Collaborate. Are you able to collaborate? Are you able to work effectively and find answers beyond your own pool, or do you always go back to yourself as the one and the one only? Leadership. What's your ability to really manage? What's your ability to grow, right? Growth potential. Am I looking at someone who is basically tapped out now? Or someone who can potentially, once we've succeeded in this in year 1, are you going to be with us to take it up to the next level, to year 2? Some people can, some people can't. Prioritization. When you're looking at 50 different things in front of you, right? Are you able to intelligently say, no, we're not focusing on that? No, right now, there is one thing that we need to be thinking about, and that's that. I remember one of the first CEOs I ever worked with, he told me, his job description in his mind was being dangerous and making the one decision no one else can take responsibility for. That's his core job description. Everything else was secondary, right? Prioritization is all about that. So what they're trying to do with these behavioral interview questions, right? And I'm going to give you some examples in all of these areas so you understand what I'm talking about. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to vet for that, right? The truth is, you could say, look, how would you ever know what my true culture fit is or my true leadership potential is if I'm not there? And fair point. But within the admittedly imperfect confines of a hiring situation, they're trying to do their best, right? And so these are the curveball questions, right? These are the things that you need to be prepared for, right? When we look at adaptability, Nearly 70% of employers say lack of adaptability is a big reason people aren't able to stick around, right? So questions like, tell me about a time you were asked to do something you'd never done before. How did you react? What did you learn? Describe a situation in which you embraced a new system, a process, a technology, or idea, right? Tell me about the biggest change that you had to deal with. How did you adapt to that change, right? Tell me about a time when you had to adjust to a colleague's working style, right? These are all questions that go towards adaptability, showing how you're able to kind of roll with those types of punches, right? Culture fit, right? When you ask a seemingly innocuous question like, what are the 3 things that are most important to you in a job, right? That's a culture fit question, right? 89% of employers say that culture fit is essential to a good hire, right? Tell me about a time in the last week when you've been satisfied, energized, productive at work. What were you doing? Don't be afraid to draw a line in the sand. Also, in terms of people you've worked with who may not have represented where they're about. If you know that this is a company that truly prizes innovation, and you and your team innovated in a very non-innovation friendly company, call that out. Talk about that. Make it clear. Look, if this is what we did when we were facing 500 pounds of resistance, imagine how quickly we're going to be moving this forward, right? So what would make you choose our company over others? What's the biggest misconception your coworkers have about you? Why do they think that? This is all having to relate with and vetting for your culture fit. Collaboration, right? Give an example of when you had to work with someone who was difficult to get along with, right? You don't have to keep everything hunky-dory. Guys, no one's expecting you to be Mr. or Mrs. Perfect here, right? But it's about, do you have an accurate grasp on this, right? How are you able to start? You could start with a very negative situation, right? And build it into a positive place if you broach it the right way, right? With a story like that, and challenge, action, result. We'll talk more about this. What's the challenge? And you can start as rough of a situation as you want. What were the actions you and your team took? Personally, emotionally, strategically, tactically, to move this forward? What was the clear result? What was the clear change? What was the best partner or boss you ever worked with, right? Can you share an experience where a project dramatically shifted directions at the last minute? What did you do? A question like that, if you can point to how you leaned on other people at a company, how you moved that forward, is perfect, okay? Leadership. Tell me, organizations with high quality leaders are double-digit X percentage more likely to outperform their competition, right? At least that's the thing that employers hold in their mind. So they're always looking for leaders, right? So tell me about the last time something significant didn't go according to plan. What was the role? What was the outcome? Describe a situation where you had to persuade someone to see things your way. What steps did you take? Tell me about the toughest decision you had to make in the last 6 months. Don't sugarcoat it, okay? Really pull something deep out of there, okay? I promise you, if you can connect with the person that you're interviewing with, not as some kind of like, soothsayer, but a human being who's had to struggle with all of this, I promise you, you're going to find that understanding. Have you ever had to sell an idea to your coworkers or group? How did you do it? What were the results, right? Growth potential. Describe a time when you volunteered to expand your knowledge, or what would motivate you to make a move from your current role, right? Make it about growth, make it about impact, make what you're talking about in these interviews, okay? Don't frame it from a point of view ever, okay, of being selfish and saying, oh, it's just my time. It's my time to be promoted. I wanted something better. They're not interested in self-interest answers here when they're gauging questions like that. What's the biggest career goal you've ever achieved, right? Think about your impact, right? If you're in IT management towards what? If you're in marketing towards what? If I can stand for that ultimate impact, then I can at any time say, hey, it was time to move forward because me and my team, we had maximized the amount of impact we could do here. It was time to head out without any judgment. They're looking for how aligned you are to a purpose beyond a paycheck, right? That's what really all of this is about. Prioritization. Tell me about a project that you planned. How did you organize and schedule the tasks? Get detailed with it. Open up get a pen, get a piece of paper. Nothing wrong with that. Get into the weeds. How do you determine what amount of time is reasonable for a task, right? How do you determine what gets your urgent focus, what gets delegated? Tell me about a time when you have to juggle several projects at the same time. Those of you who are moms and dads, you've got life experience that you can move forward there, okay? So all of this, right? All of these types of questions, right? They're all examples, right, of behavioral. And if you use, people say use the STAR system: situation, task, action, result. I think that's too complicated. I like to use CAR: challenge, action, result. Challenge, big stakes. Action or actions, keep it visual. Result, leave when you're wanting more. Don't go for situational only. Don't say, I only did this here with 15 people, because they're going to say that's not relevant. Focus on the bigger thing. If you were leading people, what's the leadership lesson, right? If you were moving people, what's the moving lesson? If it's a culture, what's the deeper cultural lesson that anyone can take away, right? You've got to learn to frame your experience and what you do from a larger lens than you simply as an employee, but what's the wisdom that you extracted, right? Take your time, take your beats. You don't have to be perfect with all of this stuff, right? You don't always have to have a perfect answer, but it is very, very, very important that you take your time and you be deliberate. Finally, little quick tip, okay? If you're unhappy or really unhappy with how you answered a question, right? It is perfectly fine for you to, in the follow-up, right? You're sending a follow-up. Don't keep it an inert follow-up. Hey, loved talking with you. Say, hey, really appreciated speaking with you. You know, I want to stack on this answer that we were talking about earlier. You know, I was digging into this and X pain, Y pain, B. Let me know if that makes sense, right? Add that value. You can have, it's about a productive dialogue with someone that we're going to be working with long term, right? That's what this is all about. So don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to really push that line. Now, guys, for those of you who are getting acquainted with me, I just want to give you a quick heads up and hopefully shower you with some really effective resources. I do not like the BS that passes for good advice out there. In my opinion, if you're trying to make job searching and getting ahead your new job, you're doing it wrong. It should be a short-term, fast, effective thing that actually gets results. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time and trying to make yourself feel better, right? So if that's not you, use this link right here. This is my LinkedIn link. Hop on over to my page, click follow. It'll just take a second, and take a look at my about section where you're going to see access to our latest masterclass, which will show you our end-to-end methodology for free. You'll get a 2-hour plus interview mini program I've put together for you called the Breaking Through Barriers program. You can download that, access that right now. That'll go much deeper into a lot of this, especially on the behavioral side. And you'll have a whole bunch of other free things as well, because I'm always updating that and I'm looking to help. All right. That would truly, truly help me out, guys. Guys, keep the questions coming. Keep moving forward. Keep expecting a higher standard from yourself and those you love. Talk soon.